Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Miami. So this was Tuesday, and time was somewhere around 5:30. We got up and we were pulling into Miami and got these great, fabulous views from our balcony. Shot some video. Probably the best time to view the city. It was really, really pretty stunning with all the lighting that early in the morning. So we stood out here for a little while and shot some video. Eventually, we worked our way back down to the Marketplace buffet where we picked up a couple of cups of coffee, and then went to the back of the buffet to the outside seating right on the back of the ship and got a little bit more footage of Miami from the back of the ship. We did return to our room and got some more footage as we came in to dock. Got all the taxis out there waiting to take people out into the city. We actually had excursions scheduled for the day. One to the Everglades and another was a bus tour of the city. So we started getting ready, got cleaned up, got dressed. Eventually, we worked our way back down to the buffet and had breakfast. And then, when the sun was up, we went ahead and got a few more shots of the city in the daylight while we were waiting to disembark for our excursion. So, now the way the disembarkation went, we all gathered in the carousel lounge and they split us up into groups. And eventually, our group was called and we left the ship and boarded a tour bus and began a very lengthy journey to the Everglades. The tour guide tried to keep it interesting, and he did give some really nice history of the city and threw some jokes in there as well, but it was a pretty long bus ride. But eventually we did arrive in the Everglades, and the little park they have set up is really pretty beautiful. Um, so we got there, everybody used the restrooms, and then we all stood in line for a little bit and waited to board a one of the airboats, I guess you'd call them. I don't know, the boats with the big fans on the back of them. And so now those boats are pretty cool. And unfortunately, we ended up seated in the middle of the boat. And I thought we were going to be able to get some good shots, but actually, as it turned out, the camera didn't see through the plexiglass windshield all that well. Uh, but I'll throw some of that video in here. Now, the boat ride through the Everglades was probably, it was around 30 minutes. And he drove us around. The best part of it was the boat itself. It was pretty fun when he got up going at a pretty good clip. Um, the scenery was pretty, um, although a bit repetitive, I guess. We saw some birds, and we saw one alligator. Now, Julie's convinced it was fake, but It looked real enough to me, so who knows? I'm not 100% sure. I think it was probably real. Um, but yeah, we kind of zipped around in this little boat for a while. Did our best to try and take some footage. And as you can see, it wasn't phenomenal. We could see through the windshield better than the camera could, though, so we had a pretty decent view. And it was fun. Upon returning from the boat ride, we did a little bit of shopping and bought a t shirt. And then it was off to the alligator show. Now they had a bunch of these alligators that I guess they rescued them. They turned up in people's pools or something. And so they bring the alligators here instead of euthanizing them. And they get their spend their life putting on shows for people. And the guy did some tricks, stuck his head in the alligator's mouth, as you see here. Um, yeah, and it was interesting, kind of fun to see those big alligators. Then when we got done with that, they have a little animal sort of zoo area outside of the alligator show. We wandered around there, and I had my picture taken with holding an alligator. Saw various other animals, including this little tortoise. And then that was pretty much it for the Everglades part. We boarded the bus and began the long journey back into Miami. And the first stop in Miami was Little Havana. And we had lunch there, got a Cuban from one of the little stores on the corner. And then we kind of wandered around on our own for a little bit and took some video of the roosters and chickens that they have wandering free range about this part of the city. So yeah, Little Havana was pleasant. Now, when we boarded the bus to head to the next stop in the city, that's when we ran into some bus problems. The driver was not able to get the brakes to release properly and started to drive us out, and we got up on the interstate, and the bus was barely able to get up to speed because clearly one of the brakes was not releasing. So he got us back off the interstate and to a city bus stop where they called, and we waited for another bus to come get us. Luckily, it was a brake issue, so he was able to keep the bus running and air conditioning on. But this did knock a considerable amount of time off of our tour. But as they say, stuff happens. We got on the new bus. We went to South Beach, had very limited time there. We wandered down to the beach. Julie dipped her toes in the water, and we took a couple of pictures and headed back to the bus. Then we drove through a part of the city with murals painted all over the buildings, didn't really stop, and continued on down to Margaritaville, where they let us off, and Julie and I had a couple of frozen strawberry daiquiris, which were good. And that was the end of our tour. We got back on the bus, and that brought us back to the ship, and we got back on board. Now, this made for a pretty long day, so we did go get showered up and dressed, and we went to dinner. And then we just went down and kind of hung out on the pool deck for a while. They did do karaoke later on in the night, and yes, I did sing, and no, it was not great. So it was a pretty long day, really. And, it was good. The tours were worth it, but if I had it to do over again, I probably would have only done one or the other. Both of them was a bit much. And I will say now that we've done them, we probably wouldn't do them again. They're worth doing one time, but not really a repeat kind of deal. So if we go back to Miami again, we'll probably figure out something else to do. But overall, it was a really good day. Spent some really good time together, um, and made some memories. And yeah, that was Miami. So that's all I've got for you now. Look forward to the next video when we will be in Ocean Key, which is MSC's private island. Talk to you later.